The coolest RPG is out on Humble Bundle right now. Cyberpunk is one of the longest running RPGs out there. It is right up there with Call of Cthulhu and its primary competition, Shadowrun. I know a lot of people are looking for a change from D&D, and I would encourage you to take a look at Cyberpunk. At the end of a campaign of D&D, most likely you have become so powerful that you're basically a god. And most likely you have successfully defeated the bad guy and are going to live happily ever after. Cyberpunk is not that. If you have played Cyberpunk 2077 or watched the TV show on Netflix, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, you will know that there are very few happy endings in the world of Cyberpunk. Power comes at a cost of your humanity. The more powerful you become, the more detached from reality you will become, until ultimately you turn into what is known as a cyber psycho. And that is why the world of Cyberpunk is full of these folk heroes. These people that were charismatic and led groups of people, these people that were powerful and tried to fight forces that are bigger and more powerful and better funded than them, and ultimately fail, usually at the cost of losing everything important to them. You see, in Cyberpunk, it isn't about living happily ever after. It is about seizing the brief moments of happiness that life provides to you. Some of the biggest decisions made in both the video game and the TV show are whether or not to just stop fighting and live your brief life with somebody you love, your friends, the people you care about, or if you think you can make a difference in a world that tells you you can't. And that's why Cyberpunk is one of the best RPGs out there. The stories they tell are much more tragic than the stories you're going to find in D&D. Now, since the Cyberpunk RPG is on Humble Bundle, let's take a look at what you can get for a stellar deal. Let's go over to the computer. All right, chooms, let's take a look at what we get in this Humble Bundle. Before we start, the link in the description will be an affiliate link for me. It will help support the channel. It will help also support the Critical Role Foundation, is the charity that I chose. Also, this Humble Bundle is a charitable thing as well. It is going to the Children's Miracle Network. So good vibes all around. I encourage you to use the link in the description to check out this Humble Bundle. Like I said, it really helps me out. Let's take a look at what we are getting with the Humble Bundle. So at the $1 level, this isn't really useful unless you already have the old Cyberpunk. This is basically guides to different settings for Cyberpunk 2020, which is the original Cyberpunk game. Now it has been revised to Cyberpunk RED because we've already passed the 2020 date, so they in 2020 renamed it RED. At the $10 mark, this is really interesting because this comes with a lot of the old Cyberpunk 2020 stuff, but it notably is missing the core rulebook for Cyberpunk 2020. So it's cool. It has a lot of cool art. There's a lot of cool things in it, but it's just not worth it to get. I think your best bet, especially if you plan on running a campaign of Cyberpunk, to use the $18, at this point at least it's 18, and might go up depending on how many people get the bundle. It goes up. This really comes with a lot of stuff. So it comes with the newest core rulebook, which is the Cyberpunk RED core rulebook. It also comes with the Cyberpunk 2020, the original rulebook from, I think it's 1988 or something like that. It's getting old. It's almost as old as I am, which is really cool. The other cool thing about the vintage rulebook and all the vintage source materials is that there are ways of adapting it to be played for Cyberpunk Red. So a lot of people believe that Cyberpunk Red kind of fixed some of the original problems with the game. Some people hate some of the changes that they did with Cyberpunk Red. You could, in theory, if you wanted to, mix and match the things that you like about either. It is fairly easy to go between the different systems, and actually we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's take a quick look at the rulebook. So the core Cyberpunk Red rulebook is pretty much all inclusive. You realistically don't need anything else other than this rulebook to play a lot of Cyberpunk. So let's look at the table of contents. It comes with all the rules, you know, creating a character here. The really cool thing about the PDFs that Cyberpunk make is that everything is like hyperlinked in this. So you can easily shoot to wherever it is you want to go. Now looking at the contents here, some other notable things is that it does come with a lot of screen sheets. And screen sheets are basically, they are setups for one-shots or for scenarios. So it will be like a news report that will say, you know, there was fighting at the docks and these gangs were involved. And that, as a DM, is what you can like hand your players and say, we're going to investigate this, or we're going to try to see if we can salvage something out of this. And that is really useful. I love it when core rulebooks give you the actual kind of game to play as well. So, you know, a lot of times you have to buy extra books that come with the scenarios. This is great. This is everything you need to play Cyberpunk. You don't need to look at anything else in this bundle. I think the core rulebook for Cyberpunk Red is worth the $18 all day long, especially in the really nicely hyperlinked PDF version. So right there, that is enough, but let's take it further. As you can see, some of the things you get are these interfaced books. So there are 3 of these: Interface Volume 1, 2, and 3. And Interface is kind of like a smorgasbord or a casserole of just content for Cyberpunk. We'll take a look at Volume 1 here. So Volume 1, we have Old Guns Never Die, which is actually a way of taking original weapons from Cyberpunk 2020 and converting them into Cyberpunk Red weapons, which is a lot of fun, especially since I think the older weapons had kind of more of a style, more flavor to them, let's say. So it's really cool to be able to convert. But just some other examples of what you're getting with these interface. You have a one-shot scenario called Red Chrome Cargo. You have something called the single shot pack, which is just a bunch of pre-made characters that you can just hand out to your players and run. There is a whole section on walking cyber chairs. Like, just add to the game these cybernetic chairs, which is interesting, you know, like not necessary, but like, okay. And then what I really love too is that, like, in the world of Cyberpunk, there is this massive multiplayer online game that everybody like VRs into. And it's called Elflines Online. And in the world of Cyberpunk, it's called like a brain dance. So you put this thing on your head and you just get immersed into the world. And this is like how much a subscription to this fictional in-game MMORPG cost, and like how you can play in the game. So in theory, you could play a game basically of like World of Warcraft within the Cyberpunk system, and that's a lot of fun. And I think in even the third interface book, they have the card game, like the card game that goes along with this Yeah, Elf Lines Online card game. Like, just so much flavor, so much fun stuff to do that it is going to be very hard for you to run out of content. Just with these, just with the core rulebook and these extra interface things. Another really cool thing that it comes with is this BlackChrome. So back in the original days of Cyberpunk 2020, they had what was called Chromebooks, and we're going to actually get into that. We do have some Chromebooks, and we're not talking about the cheap computers. We're talking about these were basically like shopping guides or shopping catalogs for the world of Cyberpunk. And so the BlackChrome is kind of the updated version of these Chromebooks. They can't call it Chromebooks anymore because a certain, $1 trillion company took the name, but it's called BlackChrome. And once again, this is going to be just a ton of extra stuff. I mean, we're talking cybernetic implants and weapons and vehicles, all sorts of just insane things, weird things, apps that you can load onto the computer, like in-game apps. So there are all sorts of interesting things in here. Moving on, we do have the Gal Dossier, and the Gal Dossier is just a codex of different gangs you're going to meet in various different cities, various different settings, and basically a whole bunch of NPC cards. So as we scroll through here, you can see that, like, okay, the 6th Street Gang, here's a little bit so that we know about them. And then here are a bunch of examples of 6th Street Gang members that your players could encounter. Stuff like this is super helpful. Sometimes you just need some bad guys, and this is a full, you can put 5 different people out really quickly and you have all their stats. Super useful for running a game of Cyberpunk. After that, there are a few things like Tales of the Street. This is going to be just missions, they call it, a bunch of scenarios to play, which is always useful. They got maps, they got characters, once again, oozing with content. Now, in addition to, kind of all this other stuff, the net running deck, the Cyberpunk RED data pack, these things are more just supplemental things that you can use, so we can take a look at that. All right, so here is the net running deck, and the net running deck is basically how you hack into computers, and this is just a bunch of supplements for kind of augmenting it. You can print these out and use them in your game. You don't necessarily have to, but it is pretty nice to be able to use these. If you play the game Cyberpunk 2077, you're going to recognize quite a few of these different basically programs that you can insert into or they're called daemons, that you can insert into your net deck and infiltrate a system with. So just more useful add-on things. Now, let's talk about some of the stuff I think that is really cool. And that is the original Cyberpunk 2020 books. This is a lot of fun to see the differences between how things were done in, and let's see if I was right on, where's the copyright on it? 1990. Okay, so this is a 1990 version. I think the original came out in 88. Don't quote me on that, but it is a really cool thing to see how this has evolved. So, for instance, here are the Rocker Boys. This is one of the archetypes that you can play compared to the original or the Red rulebook. All right, so we can see the difference Here's the original 1990s version of the Rocker Boys sheet, the archetype. And when we look at the core rulebooks, here is the new updated Rocker Boy. The solo, the net runner, the tech, the med tech, media guide, the exec. Everything is just a little bit different in the original. I love some of this just crazy art that like they could never publish nowadays. It is super cool. And I almost would like run some of the game using like this old stuff, the old artwork, the old character sheets and stuff. A lot of it is transferable. And also the old books have like these really interesting pieces of technology that the new stuff is just way more sleeker and maybe doesn't have as much character as it does. And that's one of the reasons why the Chromebooks are so cool. Let's check out the Chromebooks. So the Chromebooks, like I said, are a shopping manual or a catalog, a shopping catalog for all the different things you can find in the cyberpunk world. Miscellaneous techware. I mean, this is just so cool. I would definitely be using these original Chromebooks in exchange for the BlackChrome Book that Red comes with. Smart drumsticks. Look at that, digital recording studio. Wow. It's like back then they had no concept that an iMac would take over everything. Flying cars. Look at that. A futuristic BMW. Like, they probably didn't get the license for this. That's just so cool. Definitely like taken right out of an anime. A pedicab would be pretty sweet to have like a gang of characters that are rocking bicycles and like transporting, Ubering people around. Yeah, so these old books just have so much cool flavor to them, and a lot of it you can still use in playing Cyberpunk RED. So it is just oozing with coolness, I would say, right? This is one of the coolest bundles I have ever seen on a Humble Bundle, and I think it's definitely worth a check out. So if you are into this sort of stuff, if you're trying, like I said, if you're looking to run a game that isn't D&D, this is a really cool place to start. I think I love these Humble Bundles where you just get everything you could possibly need and you aren't left wanting anything more. This is more than enough that anybody who's, even people that are obsessed with this, even people that already have the core rulebook and stuff, there's so much stuff here. It is absolutely worth it. I hope that you guys pick it up, and I hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to get some games of Cyberpunk in. All right, Chooms, that is all for today. I hope to see you guys next time. I hope you guys check out this Humble Bundle. Have a great week. I'll probably be back with some 3D printing videos, which if you follow my channel, that's what I kind of do, is 3D printing. We talk about RPGs, we talk about Magic the Gathering, we do all sorts of tabletop gaming projects. So if you're into that sort of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and we'll see you Chooms later. Peace.